You trying to add more fun to your life, but finding it hard amongst all the busy crazy and all the responsibility. You're tired, you're short on motivation, you're short on time, and you're feeling like fun is actually work. And you keep hitting that no fun zone. If you are looking for a fun, easy button, then this listen is for you. Listen to podcast expert I'm about to interview on how building a regular fun habit with podcasts can be just what you need to have more fun in your life. Hey, fun friend, you are with me, Treena Innes, your life fun expert and host of the Finding Fun Experiment podcast, where we crack your code to health and wellness by teaching you how to have fun, laughter, and play in your life because it is good for our health. If you are a new fun friend, I'm reminded to hit subscribe to this podcast so you don't miss out on any of the fun. And today we are cracking into how podcasts can be your new fun habit with adding more spark, passion, and vibrancy to your life. And I know, okay, you're here listening to this podcast, so you've dipped your big toe in. Or if you're a regular listener and you're here because you're curious to learn more, taking your podcast listen to the next level, I'm going to tell you why I'm here. So I am actually new to the podcast world, believe it or not. Yes, I'm a podcaster, so stay with me. But being 55 years old, I've discovered that my circle of friends and network are new to listening to podcasts. And they rarely even listen to podcasts. And digging into the data to understand a bit more why, the biggest listeners are 40 years and under. 90% of the global population has not even listened to a podcast. In the United States, 45% have listened, 55% do not listen. That's the biggest listener audience. And in Canada and Europe, 35% are listeners and 65% are not. I want to help change that. And because I've discovered podcasts probably about 5 years ago, I was on a cycle trip with my 23-year-old son at the time to Vietnam. And we spent hours and hours together on long flights and trains and small spaces on long journeys. And so I was kind of stuck with him having to listen to his podcasts. And my first podcast introduction was to the Joe Rogan show. And it was hours and hours and hours. Well, it felt like it anyways, and I think it is. And I thought, this is my first introduction to podcasts. It's long. And this got me curious. I'm like, how do people consume? How does this young generation consume so much podcast listening time? Because our attention spans are deleted. But then I quickly moved on from the Joe Rogan show,
Good.
discovered there was a whole world of learning out there and entertainment, and it can be short and
And
sweet.
fewer conspiracy theories.
Well, that
Sorry,
too.
I don't know if I'm allowed to chime in yet,
You
but I feel
can.
like
I
Okay,
haven't quite
back to
introduced you
you.
yet, but you can chime in anytime you want.
Cool.
So the next one I was entertained by will be interesting what you hear about this one, is Smartless. And there's 3 celebrities on there. They're just goofing off. They're best friends. And if I need like a no-brainer hit, or I'm at the dentist, or say I'm on some bumpy boat ride, I'm getting like motion sickness, I listen to that one because it takes my mind off things. And then I upped my travel game by listening to Parts Unknown with Anthony Bourdain. He's like the guru of where to travel off the beaten path. And now I'm a sponge for all things learning how to produce the best podcast, learning how to do social media, learning how to create an emotion to a listener. And even now I use it for Googling somebody. Instead of Googling somebody and checking them out on Instagram, I use podcasts to see if they have one. And I listen to them for a second to see if I even want to work with them. So I use that as a credibility check. So this is a whole new world of fun and easy fun. And here with me today is Arielle Nissenblatt, podcast strategist, who I'm now coining as the queen of podcasting. After binge listening to a bunch of your interviews in the podcast world, she loves podcasts. She loves listening to them, making them, marketing them, and helping people find their favorites. And she's the founder of Earbuds Podcast Collective. And she has this awesome podcast recommendation newsletter, the Earbuds Podcast Collective. And she releases curations of podcasts that people recommend for people to discover. So super easy way to find your podcast. And I recently met her because she shared a curation of fun podcasts to start off the year 2026 as a year of fun. And I got to get to know her a little bit better. So in order for you to get to know her better, I asked her to do some fun homework. And I see she's chomping at the bit to dive in. So I asked her for her homework. What are her 3 things on her fun list? So Arielle, anything else you want to say? And let's dive into your fun list.
pumped to be here. Also, love your intro. It's a great combination of like setting the scene, but also sharing your own story. It's a lot of fun. And I can, should I jump into my fun list?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Number one has nothing to do with podcasts, which is be a collector of something. I love collecting things. I am a collector of license plates, and that is fun to me. That also means I'm a collector of the physical license plate, but I'm also a collector of seeing them in the wild. I'll explain. First, have you ever seen the New Mexico license plate? It's blue. It's blue and yellow. It's gorgeous. So I love seeing it. I own a few. I have them, in my arsenal of license plates, but I also just love spotting them. So something fun to me is just playing I Spy with myself around the world. I love spotting them. I also lived in Mississippi for 2 years after college. And when I was there, I created the Mississippi license plate game where the first letter of each license plate in Mississippi starts with the county that it's from. And so you can spot them. And they also say the name of the county on them. So I created a game where once you spot it, you write the date and then you color in the county on the map. And I left Mississippi in June of 2016. And June of 2016 is when I saw my last county license plate. So I have a lot of fun collecting license plates. And now every time I see a Mississippi license plate and my friend sees a Mississippi license plate, we text each other. So license plates are just a lot of fun to me.
Okay, what's number two? Because I'm going to go back. I have some questions about that one. Let's go to number two on your fun list.
Number two, I play a lot of sports. I play soccer once a week, sometimes twice a week in the better weather, and I play pickleball. And I will never stop playing sports, I hope, as long as I'm able. And it's my favorite way to exercise. I love the game theory behind it. I feel like as I'm getting older, I'm getting better at the mind game that goes along with the physical game. And I'm better at strategizing and positioning myself and understanding the full game. And it remains endlessly fun. There are always new combinations. So it's working your brain as much as your body. That's number two.
Love it. Okay. So actually, you look to me like a soccer player.
Thank you.
Pickleball,
wow.
I kind of people to be 60 plus, but you, and how old are you?
I'm 33.
33. Okay. Those who don't have a screen, but anyways, yeah, you look like a women's soccer player.
Thank you. Not a male soccer player.
Not a male. Well, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe. I haven't seen your calves.
That's a good thing. No, that's a good thing.
Okay. What's your third?
I'm debating a few for this.
Okay.
I think that I am going to go with noodles. I love noodles. And I know your show is about doodles, right? Mind doodles. That's a word. So I figured this would fit well. Just similar to collecting license plates, I also just like collecting good noodles around any city that I visit. And that means that wherever I go, I'm looking for the best noodle restaurant. Noodles are fun to me. They're great in every single cuisine, whether it's like soup, chicken noodle soup, ramen, pho, or just pasta, spaghetti. Like, I just think noodles are fun. It's a hilarious name for something. And just to broaden out a little bit, it means that wherever you go, whatever city, you can look for the best spot to get noodles. So it's a travel tip as well.
Okay, you are dialed into your fun. Let me tell you, that's amazing. Okay, so I'm going to move up to the license plate. And so I don't know if you've ever heard, there's 8 play personalities that the National Institute for Play has defined. And one of those play natures is a collector. So you clearly
No way.
fall into that category. Yeah, I'll send you the link. Actually, I'll add it to the show notes. There's a test that you could do online. It takes you like 5 minutes, and it defines your play nature, and
Wow.
you definitely are a collector. You've already nailed it. You
That's so
understand
cool.
Yes.
I feel like I implicitly understood that because I don't know if it's necessarily obvious that collecting things is fun, but I think what it is that makes it fun is that it gives you a to-do wherever you go. You can't be bored.
Correct. Yes. So that's your play nature, and I love it. So there's one
Well,
actually
can I share
defined
one
for you.
more?
Oh, okay. We'll give you a 3A.
Okay, 3A, similar, is fun to me is becoming a regular at a restaurant. It's so fun.
They know your name. They know you like your noodles. They've got a license plate.
Yeah.
found for you. I love it. Okay, just a quick question about the license plate. So do you have a vision for, you said right now you kind of have them in a pile or some
Yeah.
sort of area. Where is your vision of these license plates?
I used to have them decorating a bathroom wall in my old
Okay.
apartment.
Yeah.
It was beautiful,
Yes.
different
Yeah.
colors. I just had them kind of all up in a one
Mm-hmm.
line, a second line, a third
Mm-hmm.
line,
Mm-hmm.
trying to make it so that the yellows were randomly dispersed, the blues randomly dispersed.
Mm-hmm.
And then I actually have a few Canadian license plates and a few
Mm.
Mexican license plates. And now I moved recently. I moved in November, so they are not so. Some are in a pile because I just have a lot, but others are randomly placed throughout the apartment just for a bit of a visual differentiator,
Okay.
and
Okay.
that's fun. I get to collect them still.
And it's almost like an art probably for
Yeah,
your home. I could
yeah.
see it could be fun too to use those like for a dining, like a nice dinner or a fun dinner, and have them, maybe centerpieces or
I love
or
that
use them as
idea.
a plate thing. And
I
yeah,
definitely would need to
yeah.
clean them. I've never done like a real cleaning besides, I don't know, like the initial dusting. I probably ran a Clorox wipe over it here and there, but they
Yeah.
definitely need like if we're going to eat off them, which that's the best idea I've ever
It'd
heard.
be super fun. Be
Yeah.
super, and then you could even do it like again by state or country or something like that. Could be like
Yeah.
a part of like your dinner experience,
So
right?
fun.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I hope I get invited to that license
Yes.
plate dinner.
Actually,
Yeah.
sorry, go ahead.
No, but you bet.
The reason, I mean, I've loved license plates since at least 2014. I think I was, as a kid, obsessed with them as well, just that they're so different everywhere. And the New York
Hmm.
license plate updates every once in a while. I just think it's fun. But also, when I lived in Los Angeles a few years after college, I was walking by a metalwork shop, and I had recently heard a podcast, Dirty Jobs by Mike Rowe, and he
Hmm.
was talking about welding, and he was talking about how women are underrepresented in welding,
Mm.
and it got my wheels turning. And I happened to be walking by a metal workshop, and I walked in and I was like, "Hey, can I be your apprentice?" And then I apprenticed for this guy for a few months, and I learned how to make bracelets out of license plates. So that was fun.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And I do. I'll share a license plate story with you. I think you'll find of interest
I will.
before we dig in. So I have 1986 was when I got my license and my first car, and that I had that license plate, and I moved that license plate on every single car I had. So I was 16, 20, 30, 40, 50. Now I'm 55. That license plate from 1986 still on
No
my car.
way.
Yes, my lucky rabbits, but it's just,
That's amazing
I'm
because I don't
attached
think
to
you
it.
can do that in the US. You have to, it changes.
Well, you're not allowed to really do it here either. So what would happen is I would get pulled over by the police constantly because you can imagine how the wear and tear
Yeah.
of a
So they
license
can't
plate.
see
So they
pieces
can't
of it.
see it. So I get pulled over and then I plead like, "Oh, officer, da 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 da, it's my lucky route. So look at my record. I haven't, knock on
Yeah.
wood, not been in an accident, and okay, fine, but promise that you'll replace it. Yes, yes, yes." Next month later, I get pulled over, blah blah. So finally, the last police officer said, "Look, like we've seen you been pulled over like a million times. You're telling the
Whoa.
same old story. You got like your car's gonna be impounded."
Whoa.
And I drive a super fun car. I drive a little two-seater convertible Jag, and I thought, well, I don't really want my car to be impounded, but I still didn't want to part with my license plate. So my husband, who is a banker and he doesn't want me to pay a big fine for his license plate, said, "I think it's time for you to change your license plate." I'm like, "No, I just have to hold on to it." So he showed up one day and he says, "How about this license plate?" Flashes it up at me. It says Fun Pro.
No way.
I said, "Okay. If I have to
Fine.
change, fine." So now my license plate says
Oh my God.
Fun
Everyone has a
Pro.
license plate story.
And I'm pretty sure when I drive by some men at times, they might think it's something other than just a regular Fun Pro.
Oh God.
That's
And that's what's important.
yes, that's right. That's my little fun license plate story. And I have a tiki hut bar out in my backyard. I live in
No
Vancouver,
way.
Canada. I have lots of trees and space, and there's a lot of license plates up in there. So I hope you
Good.
get to come to the tiki hut bar one day.
I would love that.
And you'll and bring your license plate. We'll put one up on there for you in honor of you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get into this. So podcasts are fun. So here are the 3 reasons I think they're fun from my perspective. So as we talked earlier, it's an easy button podcast you can sneak into your life. You can do it while you're walking, you're driving, your chores, your dishes, your errands, whatever. It turns like that boring time into fun time, and as a result, it can make things much more enjoyable and brighter and lighter and more vibrant. Number two, it satisfies connections. So when you don't want to see anybody, or you don't want to go out, or you don't have energy, you can hang out with some super interesting people without really having to show up yourself. And for me, I'm a fast forward, I'm a pauser, I'm a like times, two speed,
Me
because I
too.
really like to hear things fast and quick. And also, if I want to ditch you, I can ditch you, and don't have to be rude. So it actually
Yeah.
satisfies
Good
like
point.
social connection. And also, it's so intimate, right? When you listen, like already, Arielle, I listened to you a few times in other interviews, and I already felt like I know you. So it's kind of a cool thing to have some other connections, even though we've never met. So that's another bonus. And number three for me is learning. So because I'm quite new to the podcast arena, I'm using it as like a sponge.
Yeah.
Right. I'm more of a listener learner versus like a reader learner. And so
I'm sure you've heard me say that on podcasts.
yes,
Oh,
it's amazing.
That's like, I resonate with everything you're saying.
Yeah. Okay. Well, because that's my question to you. What are your three reasons why you think podcasts are fun?
Okay. Top three. First is, this is definitely fun for me, but the first thing that comes to mind, the first adjective that comes to mind for me is that they are a confidence builder, which to me makes things fun. I'm not a reader. Like you mentioned, I don't really love reading. I'm more of a listening learner rather than a reading learner. And when I was a kid, that meant I didn't grasp concepts as quickly as other kids because reading is the norm. Looking at a board is the norm. If I had been in a place that gave me the tools to listen while doodling or doing whatever, going around the school walking in order to learn a concept, I probably would have gained confidence in a faster I would have gained confidence differently, and maybe I just would have felt overall like I was just as smart as everybody else, because it turns out I am definitely smart, but I didn't think so growing up. And that's fun to me, is that when I discovered that I could listen for learning purposes, great, but I could also listen to be entertained. And I have the ability to take in a lot of information and synthesize a lot of information through my ears that I would not be able to by reading. So that's fun. That's number one for me. Number two is that listening forces me to go on more walks in order to get more listening done. And when you go on more walks, you get to take in the world more and see things and come across a street fair, or I don't know, just be aware of more of what's happening in your city and in your world. And number three, everything that has happened to me as a result of being in the podcast space has some connection to fun. So I started this newsletter in 2017. That newsletter has allowed me to work full time in the podcast space, not always just by my newsletter. I sometimes get paid for the newsletter by way of ads, but mostly I use it as a tool to put myself out there, and that brings me to people who might want to hire me. I've gotten jobs that the recruiting people or my eventual bosses have said, "We loved your newsletter and it shows that you're clearly committed to this." That is in and of itself just a perk. But listening to podcasts also sends me to podcast conferences that to me feel like summer camp, and summer camp is fun.
Sure is, especially when you need to sneak out.
Yes. So some of my best friends I've met through the podcast industry. Some of my favorite collaborators I've met through the podcast industry. And speaking of collaboration, a big part of podcast growth is working with other podcasts and finding connections in other podcasts and thinking about who their audiences are. And maybe you have some in that audience who are just looking for a podcast about fun. And collaborating with other creators is fun, but collaborating with other podcast creators is especially fun because they tend to be very nice and generous and fun-loving people.
And it's creative. It's a very creative space.
Even the marketing side is creative because you have to be thinking about where connections lie. And that means finding those connections, but also creating the right way to showcase your show or your expertise in front of those audiences. That is a creative act.
And it's so, as I talked earlier about the intimacy of it, again, we're in somebody's ear. I don't know how you could get more intimate than that. Like it's such a close relationship. And when you talked about it being fun, there's fun in the artwork, there's fun in interview styles, there's fun in people that you're interviewing, there's fun in the host being fun. It's a very creative space. I hope just at, you're 33, and I hope now the next generation below you that goes to get educated in school gets to learn this way, because everybody needs to have a chance to be a rocket scientist, or in the way that they learn things. And the good old chalkboard, that doesn't cut it.
Sitting there just doesn't make sense.
For hours and hours and hours.
I don't understand the people that it works for. Like,
there's
don't
some
you
people
get
that
antsy?
can. No, there's some people that can hunker down.
It's amazing.
Like that.
It's a huge superpower. I think back to me as somebody who stays up really late and has been diagnosed with ADHD, even though everybody's been diagnosed with ADHD. I think about my inability to I'm very bad at executive functioning tasks, and it's hard for me to foresee beyond the next big task that I have upcoming. And when I first realized that, and I felt the limitations of it, and that it bothers other people because it means that I can't plan something that's happening 2 weeks in advance, and often those events rely on other people, or those plans rely on other people, or have implications for other people. That felt really frustrating for me when I could finally articulate it, and then when my friends could articulate it back to me. And it made me think a lot about why I am that way, and like what's the purpose evolutionarily of people that have ADHD and have executive functioning issues. And it brings me back to the idea that like we're not really evolved to be in this world where we sit all day, and where a lot of our day is it's we have the luxury of sitting inside all the time, which is awesome. But like humans are made to be moving around and constantly
hunting and gathering, right?
Hunting
and gathering, protecting.
Taking in new stimuli and then reacting to that stimuli, but not the same old. So I recently read that people like me in the dawn of human civilization would be the night watch people. We were hanging out, patrolling, or at least, sharing our findings in the middle of the night sometimes. And that made me feel better.
Well, I would love if you were my night watch.
And I'm sure I learned that on a podcast. So
right on. Okay, well, let's get into how you felt about the statistics I shared earlier. So 90% of the global population has not listened to a podcast. So that does make sense, perhaps, globally, where communities and cultures don't have access to Wi-Fi in third world countries. But moving to the United States, so 45% do listen to podcasts, 55% have not. Actually,
when I hear this stat, I think about a lot of things that go into it. So the first is there are probably a lot of people hearing a podcast that don't realize it's a podcast, or they are just not really familiar with the term, but they're listening to something regularly on demand that they think is maybe a radio show or internet radio, but it's a podcast. Maybe they just don't identify as podcast listeners. Maybe I think the stat that I was familiar with is I thought it was over 50% of the US population listens to a podcast at least once a month. And I don't know where I got that from, but that's kind of the assumption that I've been operating under for a while. Okay. And I do know Edison Research puts out a lot of studies about podcasting. They have a great weekly newsletter that shares a podcast chart every week. And the issue with a lot of the studies that people do around podcasting is not the data in and of itself. It's the interpretation of the data.
Of course.
And especially because people with business interests or businesses with interests will take a stat and run with it. So for example, people are always pushing video in podcasting. Oh, you need to add video to your podcast. fine. Do it if it makes sense for you. Do it if you want it, blah, blah, blah. But when this was starting to become more of a thing from Spotify, they especially want you to start adding video. A stat came out from Spotify that was like X number of people watch podcasts. And that got screenshot all over the place and shared saying, the data is here. You must start a video podcast. And that's just, first of all, you got to look at who's putting out the study. Second of all, you got to ask yourself, do I want to put video out? That's the number one thing to think about. So anyway, I say all this to say, I come back to the number and I think to myself, how are we defining podcast first and foremost? What does it, maybe that means that they have listened to a podcast in the past, but they haven't in the last month. The methodology of the survey will probably hopefully have all of that information for people to look at.
But like you said, there's opportunity when we think about
to turn it positive. Yes, there's whatever the number is, there is opportunity. And you mentioned before, demographics wise, people over the age of was it 45?
40
or 40 are underrepresented in podcast listenership. That's definitely true. A few years ago, there was a study put out by Sounds Profitable, which is a great newsletter, and they do a lot of research about how the 55 plus age group is underrepresented in terms of content. So there's not a lot of podcasts aimed at 55 plus. And it's fun for me to think about kids nowadays whose parents listen to podcasts, and maybe in 10, 15 years, they'll be listening to podcasts. I last week went to the streets of New York City with my friend Lauren. We had cameras and mics, and we asked people about their podcast consumption habits.
Okay.
It was so fun.
Yeah.
I mean, not perfect data at all, because we're asking people in New York City.
But a good random sample size.
Random.
Yeah.
We had signs saying, come talk to us about podcasts. It wasn't any sort of official study. It was more for fun, to get some fun video clips. We're going to present our findings later this month at a conference. The title of our presentation is like a hyper-local, slightly biased study of podcast consumption habits. And we found some really cool stuff, but one of the things that we learned about is that a lot of people discover a podcast and kind of go in and out of podcast listenership or viewership, or however they define a podcast. Is some people identify strongly as podcast listeners. They love listening to podcasts. Either they have their regular rotation or they're looking for new things, but they're always going to be listening to something. And then there are the people that kind of pop in and out. Maybe they have a favorite reality show and then they want a companion podcast to go along with that to get a deeper understanding of it. Or they need to learn something for an upcoming test or for a job that they're interested in pursuing.
So it's purposeful.
Utilitarian podcast listening, I call it. So there's a big opportunity. I am a huge advocate for podcast listening because I love podcast creators and I want them to be able to find their next, huge group of people that love their stuff. But I'm also a big advocate because of the angle of it's fun and also because it helped me learn and be exposed to more and ideas and concepts that I'd never heard of before. And I want more people to be able to have that opportunity as well. So yes, big opportunity with that stuff.
Fantastic. And, you've already shed some light on if you don't have fun and how podcasts can be kind of that easy door that you can open for fun. I mean, what are all the genres of fun? I have
some ideas here.
Okay, hit us.
Okay, so there's obviously podcasts that talk about fun, like yours. Are there others? What research have you done there?
Not too many. Yeah,
play maybe, like the importance of
more play or joy. Joy comes up a lot.
I could see that. But joy feels different from fun. Fun is like, let's go out and have some fun. You know when something is entertaining versus when it's fun. You know what I mean? Like you could go watch a movie and you're entertained, but you're not necessarily having fun when watching like a really gripping historical, something or other.
Yes.
Fun is like, how do you define it? To me, it's like lots of stimulus or stimuli, whatever. I never know the difference. Like popping in and out, and then you get to decide what you're doing. But I don't know. Jumping on a trampoline is fun to me.
So some people it is, some people it's not. So fun when you say, how do you describe fun? It really is in your body and your mind, right? So it doesn't amp you up. Does it make you sparkle? Does it make you feel lighter? Does it like clear your head? Does it like, do all the sparkle? I call it the sparkles, which is really like dopamine and all the, endorphins kicking in. I
Interesting.
really feel, you feel it in your body, and it helps you again with your mental health, with your physical health, like all the health. It helps you with it. So that's a fun. That's how you describe fun.
I just feel like when we talk to adults and say, when was the last time you had fun? I feel like you can go a few days without describing an experience as fun as an adult. But kids, if you ask them if they had fun all the time.
Well, there's a whole piece around that, and I won't get into this
fascinating.
podcast. Yeah, I need to listen to my podcast. So, we're born, with our play, with the play we have as children, and free play, and if we're lucky enough to have that, and then as you age and become a teenager, you got to start getting, get your paper route or get your, job, and then you got to save some money, and then you got to go to school, and we start unwinding from learning like that fun habit. And then by the time, you're in your 20s and then your 30s, you got to be responsible, and you got to like maybe get a mortgage and have kids or whatever else the society or whatever you think you should be doing. You unwind from actually your fun habit, which is why we need to bring that back into our daily life, because
it's also imagination, right?
Oh,
like kids can have more fun because they have
less cluttered.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
And they also haven't unlearned it, because what do we tell kids? Go outside and have fun. We need to tell each other.
I want to do that.
Go outside and have fun. We all need to be told that. Go, get out your jiggles and your zoomies and come back in. It's so true. It's society, but we, I'm here to resolve that.
Yeah.
What did you ask at a time?
You asked me, what are the genres? Okay.
Yes.
So there's the fun. There's like the straight up, here's how to have fun type things. To me, some of the fun podcasts, I don't know what to call this genre. There's a bunch of shows that will say, we're going to deep dive into a topic or a concept or whatever that people don't realize is really cool. So there used to be a show called Every Little Thing that would just talk about a thing and then get into it, like an object or a concept, and it would just, those are fun to me because you are the premise is you don't know about this thing. At the end of the episode, you're going to know about this thing. You're collecting. Okay, I love collecting. This is what we're figuring out. There's another show that's ongoing called Secretly Incredibly Fascinating, which is just inherently fun. The way the hosts are great. One of the hosts is this woman named Katie Golden, whose voice is fun. Like, I bet she identifies as fun.
Okay.
Both of them, the hosts, Alex and Katie, there are a lot of different segments within their show, and they have music that goes along with each segment. It is a show that is put together for the sake of fun. Actually, it's part of a network called Maximum Fun. Have you come across this?
No, but I need to.
Yes.
Okay. Maximum Fun.
And each show in and of itself, I don't know if they're thinking about like the clinical definition of fun, if there is one, but they are all fun. There's another show within this network called Judge John Hodgman, where the premise of it is people come to Judge John Hodgman with a disagreement that needs to be resolved, often between families or friends or whatever. And the disagreement can be real or it can be more of a joke. For example, my friend Lauren was on the show with her family because they've had an ongoing debate of who within their family is Gumby, who is Pokey, and who is... Their family is fun, by the way. But so this to them and to me, because I know them, is a very serious debate.
Okay.
And they went on Judge John Hodgman, and Judge John Hodgman asks a lot of questions, and then he issues a verdict and then a punishment.
Okay,
and
I love it.
It's just really, it's a good time.
So entertainment. So I'm kind of percolating these up. So I've got cool stuff.
Yeah.
Entertainment.
And then another fun genre is the question/answer genre, which is, this is a new, it's not a new concept at all. This has been around forever, but I've noticed a lot of shows pop up recently with this premise, which is either people write in with a problem and we're going to solve it for you, or hope to solve it for you, or we're going to identify a problem that has been floating around the ether and we're going to solve that, or we're going to attempt to solve it. And what's fun about these is that there's story structure built into them. It's no matter what, you're going to have a beginning, middle, and end. Either we present the problem, we investigate the problem, we solve it, or we talk about how we didn't solve it, or we talk about how we didn't solve it. And that's just, it's inherently satisfying no matter what, even if it's technically not satisfying because you're gonna find out why they weren't able to figure this out. So those are fun to me.
Okay, Q&A. Okay, got it. Okay, so you've given me three areas. So cool stuff, entertainment, and then Q&A style. Okay,
all question. Question / solved.
Ask me anything type idea. Okay.
There actually was a show called Ask Me Another, which was great. And it was a game show. Maybe there's also the game show side of things.
I didn't even know there's game show podcasts.
Yeah, I listened to one called Pod Quiz that is basically just 5 rounds of trivia, and you answer to yourself. And then in the last round, they have a question that you can submit your answer. And obviously you can look it up, but they go on the honor system. And then you get a shout out in the next episode. So that's fun. So yeah, there's a lot of quiz shows, game shows, things that make you think. And that's another genre.
Okay, I think this needs to go in your next collective, is this kind of area of all the fun. So okay, so things that make you go think, like make you go, that's probably another.
Yeah. Make you go, and then, I mean, it is just a good time to have these quizzes, or Ask Me Another was amazing. It's no longer running, but it went on for a long time. There were a bunch of different rounds, word games, and there were contestants, and it was a live show that was taped in Brooklyn and then broadcast via podcast. There's another show that I love called The Puzzler. Actually, they changed the name to Hello Puzzlers. And if you love word games and crossword puzzles, it's a great show.
Okay, crazy. This is going deep. I have no idea. Like I said, I feel I'm very new to the podcast world.
There's so much.
I had no idea. Okay, so what would you tell people? What are you telling? How do people find these podcasts? I mean, I know one way is listening to or reading your collective. Which, congratulations, by the way, 9 years.
Yeah, thank you. Today, crazy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Thanks.
It's almost a decade.
I know. Next year we're balling out, so stay tuned.
More license plates are going to be doled out. Watch out. Yeah, flying. Okay, so how do people find Like, I have no idea. So how do people find these juicy?
I have some thoughts here. So first, you need to actively be seeking podcasts. Sometimes, still, the number one way people discover podcasts is word of mouth. You like a podcast so much, you want to tell your friends about it. Your friend has a problem. You recently heard an interview where they talk about that problem. I'm going to tell you about that episode. People also discover podcasts on other people's podcasts, promo swaps, like I was talking about before. It makes sense because when people are ready to listen to something, they're listening to a podcast. And then if you hit them at the right time with the right piece of your show or of your expertise, that might get them to go check it out. People also discover podcasts by way of podcast listening apps. So you you go on Spotify, you go to the podcast section, you have the ones you're subscribed to, sure, but there's probably going to be another one that pops out to you because the cover art looks interesting to you, or the title of it is something that you have been wondering about. So you're going to try that out. Apple Podcasts has the same thing. They have a pretty robust homepage where every Monday it's updated, and a lot of the sections are editorial and they're curated by humans. So that's a really great way to discover new shows. And
you can search a search bar.
You can also search
like a Google search. I can
you can search and
things that make me, go crazy, or people crazy, or
there's a few things here. So yes, you can go to the search bar on any podcast app and search for anything, and the podcasts that use those keywords are going to pop up. Whether they're worth your time or not is up to you to decide, which is why I really like human curated lists, because then it's pre-vetted, right? It's somebody else's favorite show, or it's somebody else has recommended that show. So same with TikTok, you might discover something by way of TikTok and then check if they have a full-scale podcast, and maybe you love that creator and the concepts they talk about.
So really on your socials, you're going to run in listening to some socials and you like them, have a search and see if they've got a podcast. And
creators often think about, I posted this really great post. Why did it not convert? Like, why did people not go and check out my podcast because of it? And I think those are the wrong questions to be asking, because people are clocking that, even if it's not that many people, your post didn't get that many impressions, but people are noticing, and it's one of the touch points that helps them decide whether or not to go check you out.
Or people, like someone will come up to you, oh yeah, I love listening to your podcast. I'm like, oh yeah, what platform do you listen to? They're like, oh, Instagram.
Yep.
Well, that's not where my podcast sits. Like, so they think they're listening to my podcast just from sharing like a 1 minute little spiel from it.
Then the question becomes, yes, of course, it would be great if they went and checked out your show and hit subscribe or follow and listened every single week. And wouldn't that be awesome? But ultimately, making an impact happens long form, short form.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So you just have to decide as a creator, do you care where people are consuming your stuff or just that they're consuming your stuff? So how else do people discover podcasts? That's I did have another answer to this that I'm forgetting.
See, it's search, word of mouth, socials. Again, I'm a big fan of your newsletter that you're curating and telling me where to go.
Newsletters are huge. Newsletters are really, especially if you just love the concept of podcasts and you want to discover podcasts. There are a bunch of podcast newsletters out there. There are a bunch of newsletters in general that share media recommendations. So you don't have to necessarily narrow it just to podcast recommendation newsletters, but maybe you have a favorite creator who shares their recommendations of things too.
Yes.
Maybe they do a roundup every once in a while of podcasts.
But I like yours because it's purposeful, and then I know when it comes in, I'm going to like get a new idea. So
good.
I'm a little fun fan of yours. Okay. Well, that's good. Those are 4 good ways. Let me tie into this question. So if you're talking to my group of friends who say, oh, I'm not a podcast person. Okay.
Asking.
Yes. For someone who says I'm not a podcast person, and again, I don't want to pick on my friends, but I literally want to shake them sometimes. You too, like in your 30-year-old age range? Okay.
People who don't listen to podcasts, people who don't identify as podcast listeners really, really identify as non-podcast listeners. Like I have a few friends who are like, I tried it. I do not like it. Stop trying to push it on me.
Okay. Well,
and they'll be like, I'm really sorry. I've tried. I don't, it's not for me. And
I'm like, fair enough. Because not everybody, the absorbing of information.
Yeah.
Perhaps
it's not for
doesn't
everyone.
work. Okay, so if it could be for some people, and there's just like, oh yeah, I'm not a podcast person. What's your pitch? Like, sell me on it. What do you want them to know? Like, what are they missing out on by not giving it a try?
A lot of people, by not giving it a try, there's just a lot of great concepts that only work with audio. So a lot of these concepts are just not feasible. They would be way too expensive to make in video form or in live production form. So some premises are just like wacky and out there. And I'll try to give an example. Even Hello Puzzlers is different game show, different puzzle related games every episode tailored specifically to the guest. So maybe the guest works in, I don't know, trains. They work for the New York City subway system, and the quiz is tailored to that, and they're talking all about trains and stuff. But if they were to have to show the trains, that would just be a completely impossible, expensive task. But we can use our brain and we can imagine all of those things. So that is definitely, it's the concepts that can exist in audio that can't exist in video that make podcasts really special.
Love that.
And then the way that a lot of people might be hitting a wall when it comes to podcast listening, thinking it's not for them. I'll often hear from people who say, I want to listen to more podcasts, but I don't know how, or every time I start, I just can't focus. And I ask them, what are you doing when you're trying to listen? They often say, I'm lying in bed, or I'm doing work. And I'm like, okay, first of all, if you're lying in bed, your mind is going to drift. You need to actively be doodling, like I said before, moving. And sure, some people are able to just sit there and listen, but
most
can't.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Okay. I love that. So great concepts that only work with audio. Love that. Otherwise, if you're going to be missing out on some great concepts if you're not listening. Okay.
Exactly. And then the creativity behind it, it's just fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you see that for sure, right? Because you're on the back end.
Yeah,
okay.
For sure.
All right. Well, let's wrap up then with your top 3 most fun podcasts. Hit us up because I know I'll be searching them. What are your top 3 like what you deem as fun podcasts. I know you already probably rattled about 12
No,
of
that's
them.
fine. I'll share some others. Top 3. I'm just looking at my podcast listening app.
Okay.
I mean, Amy Poehler's podcast is so fun.
Okay.
She's just so fun. Her podcast is called Good Hang.
Okay.
It came out almost a year ago and it won a Golden Globe, which is a whole nother debate.
Wow.
Just because people are like, okay, some of the other podcasts that were nominated have been around for a while. Also, a lot of debate in the creator community around like, first of all, her show is basically a TV show. Also, it has an audio feed. Fine. That makes it eligible.
Okay.
But you know what? Fun is fun. And
Who cares?
It's fun. And people have a good time and it makes people feel good.
Okay.
And it makes people laugh. So I love that one.
I'm going to add it to my list. Good Hang. Yeah.
I love
I've
that
seen
one.
it, but I'm kind of married to SmartList, but I bet you
No, I love SmartList too.
Yeah.
SmartList is a great example of like, it's going to work as a recommendation for someone. They're going to go through the podcast episodes and they're going to say, okay, I'm curious about that person. Right. So if somebody's just starting, SmartList is a pretty safe bet to recommend them. A great show that I think is fun, Pop Culture Happy Hour, talks about TV, film, books that have just come out. And the hosts, it's a roundtable show. They talk about their thoughts on it. And I love it.
Okay. Number 3.
Number 3, something that is fun is I'm just like, I'm like, this is my chance now to share.
Don't share anything weird. No, just joking. I love weird too. Weird is fun.
Yeah, I love weird. There's a show called No Such Thing that I think is fun. And it's one of those shows in the genre of question answered, where they answer a question that they've been debating amongst themselves. It's 3 friends. They did an episode on, do you ever like walk around a city and randomly see chicken bones on the sidewalk? No, okay. It might be a New York thing. I don't know. No one, like in New York, it happens, and I always wonder. And they
like
basically
little mini chicken bones.
Yeah, like the legs, like the drumstick.
Like I've eaten one, I've just thrown out in the street.
That kind of thing. But they're in random places, and they did a whole episode on this, and that's fun.
Okay, I'm already enjoying it. I'm already listening to it. Okay, so I usually wrap up my podcast episode with an aha and a and a what the, and I usually have like a bunch of chicken scratch that I can't read. I'm left-handed and I can never even read my own handwriting. So my I feel is when you explained how podcasts are so creative. When you mentioned all the different types, like the cool stuff, the entertainment, the Q&A, the game show, making you go home, I had no idea that there's this level of these types of podcasts.
It's amazing.
That just to me is like mind blowing. So that's my and my what that is that you play pickleball.
I love it. It's so fun.
Are you the youngest person on the court?
In
Brooklyn, New York or Brooklyn, you guys all like it's a young person's game.
It's a young person's game. Yes.
Sorry, pickleball players. Like I don't know. I just equate it with seniors.
No, I get it.
People.
And there definitely are. I've played against seniors who are very good.
Amazing. Oh yeah, because it's like tennis. You gotta play these seniors today, and then they kick your arse, and you're like, okay, I'm not playing with you anymore with the bling visor. You're gonna get me. Okay, and then my aha was really around just you wrapping up with that great quote of great concepts that only work in audio. And you're right, 100%. Like where are you gonna learn? Get this stuff from? If only in your intimacy of your ear. So that's beautiful.
You'll start to notice more of them that they work just because they're entertaining, but also because you allow the mind's eye to work.
Yes. And even as I entered the podcasting world from a listener to a podcaster, my mind is just open and I love this stuff. Like if I was starting, over again in my career, oh my gosh, 100%.
Yeah.
Hitting this street big time because it's lifelong. It's going to be big and there's so much to explore and learn and do and talk to. So thank you, Arielle, for coming again as this queen of podcasting experts, my new title for you. And thank you for the fun fans, fun friends for listening and prioritizing fun and living lives in your life to benefit your own wellness and not only to you, but to those around you, because in turn the world is lighter and brighter and healthier. And if this episode reached you, connected with you, please share it with someone that might be in that space going, I'm not a podcaster, and inspire them. And let's start working on changing that percent around the world. And also for people to hit the easy button. It literally is that easy. You literally just hit a button. You don't even have
be
to
entertained.
Be entertained. Easy peasy, fun.
Open your brain, learn something that you didn't think you had time to learn while you're walking to, I don't know, your next appointment.
Yes. Yeah. It's a great way to multitask and entertain some of those dull moments. So keep living lively, everyone, and have fun. And thank you so much, Arielle.
Thank you.